Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 10th meeting of the Board of Selectmen. If you could join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thankfully, tonight's one of those happy nights. We have an awful lot going on. However, with the board's permission, I'd like to mess with the agenda a little bit. First off, I'd like to move, actually, two quick things. I'd like to move up the reorg to the first item, and also move up the appointment to sergeant to the second item, and then we'll go into the agenda, et cetera, et cetera. Approval of minutes, community forum, et cetera. So, any objections to that? No. All right. So, hearing none, again, I've had a fun year as chair. And now I'm happy to turn the gavel over to someone else. So we can do it however we want. I will entertain a motion for chair, vice chair, clerk separately, all together. And if people also would like to throw their name in the ring, we can do that after a second or whatever for discussion. So I serve at the will of the board. So except for the fact I will not accept any nominations for me. But outside of that, what is the board's wishes for the officers?
I make a motion that Steve represents us as chair.
Do I have a second for discussion?
I second.
All right. Would anyone else on the board like to be chair? Hearing none, Steve, I think you'll do Steve, assuming that you'll accept the nomination?
I will accept the nomination, and thank you for the condolences from from the rest of the selectmen for that. Yeah,
We appreciate that.
I'm sure I can do it. And if there are, and we'll bring it up in another meeting, but serving on the Economic Development Commission and a little bit of on Old Home Day, I'm probably going to want to kick off that EDC thing. We can bring that up at the next meeting. Maybe another select board member could do that part.
Sure thing. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is unanimous. Mr. Chairman, if you'd like, I can finish up the officers, or I can turn it over to you.
Go right ahead.
All right. Do we have any nominations for vice chair?
Mr. Chair,
Please.
a year ago I mentioned my belief, and just my opinion, that every seat should move, giving everyone on the board an opportunity to hold officer positions they have not previously held. I still believe that. So with that as my personal belief, I would like to nominate both Ms. Orosky and Ms. Ridlack. Ms. Orosky to have a turn at vice chair, Ms. Ridlack to have a turn at clerk, so they could both now take roles as officers on the board that they have neither previously held.
Do I have a second for discussion? Nice idea, but apparently that is faded on the wind. Can I have a different motion? You know what? Since I'm no longer chair, I'm actually going to make a motion to nominate Patsy once again as vice chair if she accepts the nomination.
I do. Thank you.
Can I have a second for discussion?
I would second that for discussion, yes.
I'm good with that too.
You fine?
With
David?
Yeah,
Outside of what you...
You have the motion in a second. One vote's not going to make a difference. I believe Patsy will again do a good job as vice chair. However, I will say I will be voting no, not as a sign of a belief that she can't do it, but simply because that would be the same person in the same officer role 3 years in a row. And the board has always strived to move the seats around. The last time this board had a member who sat in the same seat for many consecutive years, it's just not something that the town supported, the board has supported in the past, and I'm told there may even be a policy we follow that they're supposed to rotate, which we're not following. So it's not a sign of a disbelief that she cannot do the job, simply a sign that we should not have one person in the same role 3 years in a row.
Thank you, Selectman Singer. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
So that's 4, Steve, that was a yes?
Aye.
All right, that's a 4-1-0. Congratulations, Vice Chair Ridlack.
Selectman Singer, making friends and winning people over.
And certainly last but not least, if Basha wouldn't mind doing it, I would love to nominate her once again to serve as clerk.
I'm good with that.
Do I have a second?
Second that motion.
Thank you, Patsy. Any discussion, concerns? Hearing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is unanimous. Mr. Chairman, let me turn it over to you.
Wow, in the hot seat. Here we go.
Yes.
I believe, Mr. Chairman, with your indulgence, I believe it would be 4.2 is what we'd be asking to take care of next, if that's okay.
4.2.
The appointment of sergeant.
Yes, but we haven't gone through the consent of the meeting.
Correct,
You're jumping ahead, all right.
yeah, just because I know we have everyone in attendance, and they probably also have kids that they have to get home to, because they're not old like me.
Okay. All right. So for the appointment of sergeant.
I'll take that over for you, Steve.
Go right ahead.
All right, so Police Chief Dowd is asking the board to appoint Anthony Gribbins to the position of sergeant. Officer Gribbins is being promoted within civil service to the rank of sergeant. He finished first on the recent civil service assessment performed just a few months ago. I'd recommend the board make the appointment and would like to congratulate Officer Gribbins. Sorry, Sergeant Gribbins.
Good evening. Anthony's been a police officer for over 18 years. He's also dispatched before being a police officer. He's been tremendous assets in coming to Charlton. He's got a bachelor's degree from Assumption College. He's got a master's degree from Anna Maria. He's also a graduate of the Mass School of Law. Gets along well with his peers. He's a smart guy. He's hardworking, and he wants to be here. So I think that's the recipe for success. The caveat is Lieutenant Mason's got OCD, so he'll drive him insane. So the comic gold that I am going to get should be, well worth it.
Without any,
Can I-
any discussions from the board, or
Can I make a motion? Is that
go
okay?
right ahead?
I make a motion that we appoint Anthony Gribbins to the position of sergeant.
Second for discussion?
Second. Well, I'm chair now. Go ahead.
You can second. Chair can also make motions, just historically, most chairs.
Well, we're gonna get these wheels greased up a little bit. It's just the way I was.
That's right.
Fine, second.
So through a chair. Sarge, I just want to say, again, I know you've been doing a great job.
Thank you.
And you now follow in a very strong line of command staff, and I'm sure that you are going to follow in their footsteps with only their good traits, and I'm sure avoiding some of the chief's bad traits.
That's fair.
So, did you know if you had anything that you wanted to say to the folks at home who may not have had
No,
the
I
opportunity?
enjoy working here and all the opportunities I've had here.
Excellent.
And you want to work for him?
I do.
Well, the lieutenant, not necessarily. but-
Just making sure.
With that, I'm good.
That I'm good?
We all good?
Motion second, and let's call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Okay. So be it.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Are we doing,
Congratulations.
Dan, are we doing through a chair, are we doing a pitting ceremony or anything? Like, does that happen?
I'm going to leave it up to his wife, if that's.
We're good.
No, no, we should.
No, you sure? All right, that's it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
When I married him, he said, thanks.
Congratulations, Sergeant. Be safe out there. To the rest of our force, thanks for coming in today, guys.
Nice to see you again.
Thanks, everybody, be safe. Thanks, Dan.
I just one thing before I leave. Jerry Foskett did some seal cracking in the parking lot. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the highway department for doing that. Jerry and Mark were very instrumental in getting that done today. Thank you.
Oh, good. Thanks,
Thank
Chief.
you. And through the chair,
Through the chair.
Andrew, if you would send in another thanks.
Yep.
So now we are moving on to appointments for DM dispatcher?
Minutes.
Huh?
Minutes.
Oh, the minutes of the meeting. Oh, going back up. Bill,
I'm sorry, I was trying to make things
you're
easier.
funny. You like mix it all up.
That's what I do, I'm sorry.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, to make your life easier, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes of the regular meeting from April 26th, along with the minutes of the special meeting with FinCom on April 27th as submitted.
I second that motion.
Any discussion from the board? No? The vote?
Aye.
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 Aye. It's unanimous. So moving along to community relations announcements and open forum.
That would be me.
Barbara.
Charlton Police Department is enforcing click it or ticket enforcement for the month of May with NHTSA federal funds through EOPSS programs. Town of Charlton 2022 yard waste drop-off is at the DPW at 100 Flynn Road, Saturday, May 14th, between 10 and 2 p.m. It is open to Charlton residents only. You can get some more information on the town website. Charlton Annual Town Meeting is Monday, May 16th at 7 p.m., and that's in Charlton Middle School. Town meeting voter check-in will be a new computerized format, and voters can use any one of the lines to check in. The town hall will be closed on Monday, May 30th. That's for the Memorial Day. And the Memorial Day Parade, it starts at 2 p.m. I guess everybody assembles at 1:30 p.m. at Masonic Home. Friends of the Library Spring Book Sale is going on. Looking to restock your home library or grab some grab beat reads? Visit our Friends of the Library Book Sale room during the month of May and fill a bag for just $5. I for sure will be there. Tween and Teen Creative Writing Group is Wednesday, May 18th from 3:30 to 4:15 in Community Meeting Room. This writing group is for those ages 11 to 18, writing prompts, share your work, book discussion, and so on and so forth. The registration is required. No pressure, they say. Visit the library website for a full listing of events and programs. And last but not least, Dudley Charlton Educational Foundation fundraiser is May 13th, which is this Friday, from 6 to 10 p.m. at Heritage Country Club at 85 Sampson Road in Charlton. That is to support the students, the teachers, and our local schools. So please come. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman? Steve?
Okay, moving right along to.
Steve, I'm sorry, through you, just a quick thing. So, this is the first time that the veterans have been able to hold their Memorial Day Parade for a couple years because of COVID, and it's obviously one of the most important, if not the most important parade that any of us could ever march in. So anyone who can actually come out and show their respects on that day, I think it's going to be great. So, again, just want to throw that out there. Looking forward to seeing everybody on Monday. Thank you, Steve.
Very good, very good. So we're through with community relations announcements. We've got a few more appointments. Andrew?
Yep, so, I'm sorry. Open forum.
Open forum. Is there anybody here for open forum that has anything they want to discuss, or?
Okay.
Hearing none, seeing none? I think we can move on to appointments and resignations.
All right, so the first appointment is for a per diem dispatcher. Police Chief Dowd is asking the board to appoint Cesar Alvarado of Southbridge, Mass. as a per diem dispatcher. This would be contingent upon passing a background and initial training. I'd recommend the board make the appointment.
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
Next appointment will be for the Government Study Committee. Attaches a talent bank form from Joseph Habler seeking to be appointed to the Government Study Committee. I recommend the board make the appointment, and just as a caveat to note to the board, the first meeting of that committee will be May 25th at 5 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion from the board, or?
Did you say May 25th, Andrew?
Yes.
What time?
5 o'clock. We're
And what?
virtually.
So moved, there's no discussion, and we're good.
Call for a vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry.
That's all right, Steve. Go for it, man.
You threw me off my,
All right, finally is a notice of retirement for Executive Assistant to the Fire Department Hazardous Waste Coordinator. Attaches a letter from Terry God notifying the board of her intention to retire on September 30th, 2022, after serving 36 years to the town of Charlton in the fire department, starting her career as a call firefighter, EMT, EMS coordinator to the department, as well as executive assistant to the fire department and secretary to the hazardous waste coordinator. I'd like to commend her for a job that she has done and continues to do. She is a great asset to the town and will be missed when she retires. She would ask the board to consider allowing her to keep her special municipal employee status and remain as Deputy Emergency Management Director to the town once she retires. So, Chief, I see you're here. I don't know if you're here to talk on that.
I certainly can. Evening, all. So, yeah, it's been a long ride for Terry Goff, and I can only thank her. I've had the opportunity to work with her for the last 20 years in all of my roles, and I was thankful and grateful that she decided to stay on when I became the chief. We all knew this day was going to come eventually, but I wish her nothing but the best. She truly is the heartbeat of the fire department, and she's going to be missed.
So as far as, we can accept her resignation, but then we need a second vote to keep her on as, or can we do it all in one? I would accept a motion for
I
a vote.
think you could forego the second part of it for right now. I think she's looking to have some discussions as to whether or not, and what that role may be.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like, with regret, to accept her notice of retirement.
I second that.
Open for any further discussion, or?
Mr.
open
Chair, I
for a
would just
vote?
like to add that as we cast this vote, that we please ask Andrew to send a note and maybe have a certificate created to give Terry. She's been, as the chief's mentioned, involved in so many other aspects of this community people aren't even aware of. It'd be nice to also give her a note and a certificate from the board.
Fine by me.
That's a motion, and do we have a second on David's motion?
30 seconds.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous?
Mr. Chairman, the only other thing to say is, through you, Steve, Chief, if she does decide to want to maintain her special status, she obviously has my support, and I'm assuming most people on the board, so.
Oh, yeah, and I think she just wants to have that opportunity to discuss it, and I would love to discuss it too, as far as what we can do to keep her
Absolutely.
involved.
Yeah, you don't just lose 36 years unless you have to.
Right.
We were prepared, obviously, to have the conversation tonight, but that's okay if she wants to wait.
Cool.
Thank you.
And scheduled appointments, Senator Ryan Fatman. Sorry to keep you 5 minutes after our,
No worries.
some pretty exciting stuff.
Thank you for
coming up.
having me tonight. I appreciate it, and congratulations and condolences. So my understanding is just, I'm here to introduce myself this evening. I appreciate the invitation, and it's really wonderful to meet you all. I look forward to getting to know you over the course of the next few years. And I've already had the opportunity to meet with Andrew a few times. Actually, he and I were most recently together with Chief Knopp. We did a little bit of a tour across the town's public safety facilities, and the purpose of that tour is, at some point in my first meeting with Andrew, I had mentioned that the state has about $2.8 billion that it's maintaining in a escrow account right now, the ARPA funds, the federal funds for the American Rescue Plan Act, and I wanted to see if we could put them to good use in the town of Charlton. So, Mr. Chairman, you said as long as I come with a bag of money at the time, you'll be pleased.
But I was, all right.
It's in the back of my mind, and I know that that's what a lot of communities, especially the ones that I represent, have on the forefront of their mind. My district has changed legislatively. Every 10 years, they redraw the district lines. I lost the two largest communities to the east, Milford and Bellingham, and I ended up picking up 8 new communities, which is really great for me. I'm very excited about having Charlton, mostly because it's very similar to many of the towns that I currently represent. Sutton is my hometown. I see a tremendous amount of similarity between Sutton and Charlton. Charlton's a little bit bigger, population-wise, but geographically they're about the same. You have major state roads that go through them, which is essentially the economic engine. There's benefits and burdens of that growth, and what I've done in my hometown is try to assist in any way possible. from things like MassWorks, one-stop grants, trying to make sure that that economic growth is sustainable and not as much of a burden on the town residents, to things like, public safety allocations in the state budget, where the town of Sutton needed $300,000 for their public safety facility for a fiber optic cable. They didn't have it budgeted. I was able to secure the money for that. And that's the next 3 weeks for me. The budget for the state just came out. We started amendments today. I do serve on the Ways and Means Committee. In about 2.5 weeks, we'll start the budget debate. It's a $49.68 billion budget document. The good news, I think, for the towns that I represent is one of the line items. I was a member of the Board of Selectmen in my hometown. The unrestricted general government aid is something that most select people always look at, town administrators. That in the Senate is higher than both the governor and the House of Representatives. It's $63 million over what the governor had proposed, which essentially doubles that increase. Typically, the governor has tried to put that line item ascending with inflation. As we know, inflation's been a major topic in our country, in our state. And so this is actually about almost a 7% increase, which is just a little bit over inflation. So I think that that's a really good thing. The other thing to consider, there's a lot of discussion about a recession, potentially down in the fall. We are putting about $2 billion aside for the state's rainy day fund. So if it does rain, there'll be approximately $6.7 billion, which is the highest that account has ever had. Quite frankly, I have very mixed emotions about that. The good news is, if it does rain, we have the money. Philosophically, I'm a big believer it's people's money. They work hard for it. At some point, you kind of have to say, okay, the month of April, we collected $3.5 billion more than we did last April, and more than $2 billion than was predicted. And so you have to actually have a conversation about giving the money back to people, because it is their hard-earned tax money. I've tried to put that in the form of a gasoline reprieve with the gas tax. Pretty much every state across that abuts Massachusetts has that on their docket. Connecticut just actually extended theirs through December and the rest of the year. My biggest concern is my district abuts Rhode Island and Connecticut, and there's a lot of small business owners and people who are probably going to go down there to try to get a little bit of relief at the pump. We're at $4.39 on average right now, and that's the highest in the Commonwealth's history. And if you're driving a truck, it's even worse, over $6. So those are things I'm really sensitive to. As I said offline, I've got a family of 6, 4 children, 4 under the age of 5.5. So you can do the math. My wife reminded me she's been pregnant for a long time. We're not doing any more, but we know that that can be stressful on family budgets. And, Charlton, I know, has a lot of families in town, and that's something I'm very sensitive to. So I'm really excited to be here. I'm excited to be taking over for Ann Goby. She and I have always had a great working relationship, and Peter Durant and Paul Frost and I have a very good relationship as well. So I try to be involved in the communities I represent as best as possible. It is my goal and objective to be at your town meeting on Monday night. Last night I was in the town of Munson. I didn't go into the town meeting. I just stood outside for about an hour and a half as people were coming in and introduced myself, so that they know I'm approachable. And, I don't really care if you're Democrat, Republican, Independent. All that stuff kind of goes out the window. I care about you being a kind and nice person who wants to, do well by their community. And I had a great opportunity to meet a lot of people last night in Munson. I'm hoping to do that this upcoming Monday in Charlton. Sometimes things change. My family takes priority over pretty much everything else. So if a kid's sick or something like that happens, maybe I won't be there, but 99% sure I will be. And I'm happy to take any questions that you all might have.
Mr. Chair.
Go right ahead.
Not so much a question as much a statement. One, thank you. I appreciate that you came. As I mentioned to Andrew, to me it's very important that our legislators in Boston are accessible and very visible to the residents of Charlton, and that people of Charlton know who their reps and senators are in Boston. I'm not going to ask for an answer tonight because we're not prepared, but I'm going to ask Andrew to follow up with you on a few issues that I'm hoping we'll be able to work with you on going forward. Crumbling foundations, which, you know, Ann was working on with us.
Yep.
I would love to see if we could do something to expand PFAS testing in Charlton. Andrew, I'm not sure if we've reached the maximum number of homes in Charlton that could apply for the PFAS testing, but if we have, I'd like to see if we could expand that, if there are funds or tests available. And one of my big issues for many, many, many years has been, and we are making progress now, for Charlton to be clean water self-sufficient, and we are making progress. I'm hoping that we might be able to recruit you to assist in that as well at some point. So
Sure.
just some thoughts for the future.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate them. One quick question to help edify my own knowledge. The town does not have, the town does have public water, correct?
We have limited.
But
you
it
want- you want
is
to-
limited.
Any one of us can, but we purchase, we don't have our own well system, we purchase from Southbridge.
From Southbridge, but it is a public water source.
Yes.
So
In
certain,
certain
a
areas.
portion, a very small portion of the town, due to ExxonMobil contamination,
Yeah.
has water that has been brought in.
Yep,
A overly large portion of the town is still on private well.
yep,
That plume, for those who may have been here, plumes move. So where that water is today, it will be there for a while, right? The contamination, the water's all over. Where that contamination is, that plume will move.
right.
And so I would love to see us continue to work on some kind of, I don't know if there is an answer, but way to be ahead of that and try to either get cleaned up or try to begin expanding the town water infrastructure further with our own clean wells so that we're ahead of that, so that as the plume moves, as contamination spreads, more homes are able to quickly hook up to clean water.
Yep. Yeah, I appreciate that point. I represent Millville. It's a town of about 3,500 people. That's been an issue over there. Mary Jude Pigsley is the regional director of DEP, and she's fantastic. Straight shooter, very knowledgeable. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her. I figured you would be.
Yeah, she was at a meeting 2 months ago to introduce the PFAS program.
Yep, and so I'll plan on talking to her tomorrow about the availability of that testing. In Millville, we were able to arrange it. She explained to everybody, it's sort of a double-edged sword.
Yep.
You know, and just for the edification of the public, to explain a little bit about that. You know, mostly, it's real problematic for children developing and pregnant women, older individuals sometimes as well. But, you know, it's the parts per trillion if it tests between 20 and, I think, 79 in a private well. You know, you acknowledge that it's there, but there's nothing anyone is going to really do about it unless the individual can sustain it themselves. Perhaps that needs to change at some point with some sort of assistance. But once you hit 80 parts per trillion on a private water source, then the state will step in and do something about it. So you know, at least that's my understanding.
Yeah, she gave us a wonderful presentation, and as I mentioned, there were so many tests available for a particular community, Charlton being one of them. I know that some people in Charlton have applied for the PFAS test kits.
Yeah.
So obviously, if she says there's 40 or 50 and 10 apply, then the point's moot. There's still plenty available if
Right.
they're still being offered. But I'm curious, if we reached Charlton's limit, to me, that might mean that the demand was there, or the concern was
Yeah.
there for residents to test their water.
Yeah.
And if there was then an ability to perhaps get an expanded number of kits available to Charlton residents, it would be a help if we've actually met our limit.
Sure. Yep, I'll try to find that out and be in touch with Andrew. Appreciate the point.
Great. Ryan, as far as, so you toured our public safety buildings and our fire station and station number 2. I'm
Yep.
assuming you,
I should say fire buildings, not really, I mean, I didn't go to the police station, so I went to the fire stations.
but you did go to station number 2,
Yep, I
the
did.
older one that's down the road. If,
Yep.
in the event that, and I don't know, maybe I didn't ask Andrew ahead of time, in the event that that falls under any type of emergency relief for the town, because it is mold-ridden, it's due to collapse, we've had an engineering study on it. If there's any ARPA money or
Yeah.
state grant money?
It's definitely going to be a priority for me.
Okay.
The chief did a great job. Andrew was wonderful. It was very apparent to me, being there, that there was some challenges.
Yeah.
The thing I have to figure out always is how I balance every community's challenges. I represent now 19 communities, and, you know, there's a lot of public safety facilities. Southbridge is one of them, that have been around for a long time and need to be replaced, and we're going to try to figure out how to do that. I've actually worked with Mike Moore, who's a state senator over in Millbury, and he and I have been trying to figure out how do we create a program similar to the MSBA school funding program for public safety facilities, because, you know, if it's all based on the taxpayers here, and, you know, these are somewhere between, you know, if you're in Munson, the chief over there was telling me it's $6 million just to do sort of a renovation rehab. You know, in the town of Sutton, we just built a police station for $14 million. And you start talking about what Southbridge wants to do, and they're upwards of $28 million. That's real money. So I'm a big believer that, A, the state needs a comprehensive program like the MSBA for fire and police and public safety, and B, I actually think they need it for water systems too. You know, Uxbridge is another community I represent, and they had to build a $40 million facility for wastewater treatment and purification issues. I mean, and that all fell on the ratepayers that live in precinct 2. That's like 20% of the town. I mean, their water rates are off the charts, and, you know, the state needs to do something, especially when you start saying almost $7 billion in rainy day fund, another $2.5 billion that is the ARPA funds. Like, we have the ability, $3.5 billion coming in over projection. I mean, the economy is fairly strong, I think, because of the high-tech nature of it, and we got to figure something out on this long-term.
Great.
Steve, through you?
No. Ryan, thank you for coming.
Actually,
Yeah.
sorry, I was going to ask the senator just a quick thing.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, Senator, just very briefly, you know, as you mentioned, I know you have a very large district now, you know,
Yeah.
19 towns and municipalities. That's going to be a lot of asks for you quantitatively.
Yes.
So I get it. I'm practical at nature. So my ask is really more around it's more of a qualitative one. It being the quality of life for our residents who commute mostly up on Route 20 and 169 at this point.
Yep.
So, as I'm sure you're aware, between the Amazon project, between the LNG project, and of course the much larger infrastructure project starting down by Richardson Corner on Route 20 going into Oxford,
Yep.
we're talking a tremendous amount of infrastructure work that is going to be occurring, and it's all going to be good.
Yeah.
But it is going to be a significant inconvenience for our residents. So what I would ask is that you continue and your staff continue to be advocates for us within Mass DOT,
Yeah.
and have a really good line of communication with our residents. So when they see problems, when they have suggestions, that you may be able to help us, let's just say, push them in the right direction.
Sure,
Which
yeah.
would be, again, but with
Certainly.
that, I'm absolutely looking forward to, working with you, and obviously if this board can help at all, I'm sure I speak for all of us, and we're very happy to do so.
Great. Yeah, no, I know that Route 20 corridor is a major opportunity and concern point. So we've already heard it because I represent Oxford.
Exactly, yeah.
And so I've heard it for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, Mass DOT will do a great job, and I'll be there to help.
Thanks, Senator.
That's great. Thank you, Ryan. Thanks again for coming. Anybody else have any other questions, or anybody from the public, or?
We always draw a crowd.
Hey. Sounds fun.
Always a friendly. Thanks, Senator.
Thank you for having me.
Ryan, thank you, sir.
Well, by the way, it's great to see 2 students here. I've actually never seen that. So I don't know if that's something, I've seen it on school committees. I've never seen it on a select board.
Because we have the vocational school in town,
Yep.
it was our first year ever to both have the, Shepherd Hill Regional, but also have a student rep from Bay Path, which we're very proud of.
That's great. Congratulations to both of
And
you.
both women, so that's that much better.
We bought as well.
Bill's way of saying Charlem leads the way again.
Yeah, no, it's a really cool thing. Congratulations.
Yeah. And they've absolutely been a positive addition to the board. I would say that.
Good night.
Thank you.
All right, Ryan,
Thanks,
thank you.
Ryan. So, moving right along, now we're at the 7 o'clock, 7 minutes late, but to meet with the Recreation and Activities Council regarding the band shell.
Did you get my PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, it's included in the packet.
Yeah, I think we have it.
Can we put it up on the screen, Richard?
There, shall what you may. It's all right.
I'd first like to introduce myself. My name is Don Konopacki. I wear 2 hats in this particular project. I'm the president of the Charlton Rec Friends. How you become a president is you show an interest in something, and then they make you the president. I am also on the Activities Council. And I'd like to start off, I don't have a copy of, is there a copy of the PowerPoint, just so I can read it?
Here you go.
I'm speaking today as the president of the Charlton Rec Friends, but I'm willing to also answer some questions with regard to the activity center, as long as it's germane to the project. To begin with, the purpose of the Charlton Rec Friends is, thank you very much, is to help with trying to find funding for both the maintenance as well as development of recreational opportunities for Charlton residents. In the past, if you go to the second slide, some past projects which the Friends have done are both the Charlton Community Playground, located in back of the library, as well as the Charlton Skate and Bike Park, which is also located at the back of the library. Both of these were partially funded by people giving money to the Friends to help with this. We now have a new project that needs to be done, these two being completed, and one of the things which I noticed when I went to the town meeting with the TIF agreement was a lot of people saw something about a band shell and they had no idea where it was coming from, and they thought it just popped out of the air. And I just wanted to give a brief history so people know where it came from. Back in 2017, there was an open space and recreation plan, which the town had done, and I'm one of those crazy people in town who reads stuff like this, because I'm interested in seeing what's going on in the town. The first thing I wanted to point out is that there was a survey taken, and out of this survey, they asked for the top 5 choices of things. And as you can see, an outdoor amphitheater and performance space was one of the higher-ranked items on this. It's even higher if you take into account that 3 of the top 5 choices have to do with trails, which are essentially the same thing. So it was a pretty important thing, at least among surveyors. If you could go to the next slide, please. If you go to page 99 of this document, you'll find that there's the 7-year action plan, and under 4D, there was a construction of a bandstand for community events at one of the recreation sites. And you'll notice at the time that they were hoping to do this was 2022, which is magically this year. One of the things that first struck me about this was that it says specifically construction of a bandstand. What often happens is when communities want to build things like this, they took a look at what other communities have done, and you take a look at Sturbridge, and what have they done? They have a big gazebo out in the middle of a town green, and that's their bandstand. The problem is that communities keep on following the same bad advice. They see something and think that's the way it should be done, and I think part of the problem is they never have any musicians involved in this process. Now, I myself, I'm not a great musician, but I have played in bands, and I have played in bands which have specifically played on bandstands. And what I can tell you, there's a big difference between a bandstand and a band shell. Typically, a bandstand means that it's going to be an open air on all sides, usually a gazebo, usually a little bit bigger than your typical gazebo, and the problem is the acoustics are terrible. The sound does not come directed towards the audience, and even worse, the musicians performing cannot hear each other. Even though there are monitor speakers to help us hear it, the sound quickly dissipates all over the place. And the other problem is the musicians can't really communicate with each other, which is an important part of a performance too, because it's something that's circular and you have to look behind each other to try and communicate. And it's a really big problem. You'll notice if there's something like during Old Home Day when we hire a band to play at the fireworks, you'll notice they always bring their own trailer, which is in essence a very small bandstand which assures that all the music is directed in the right direction and that they're able to hear each other and see each other. One of the great things that happened, if you could go to the next one, is as part of the TIF agreement was the community partnership agreement with Amazon, and you'll notice that they agreed to invest $350,000 in a band shell. Some of you may say, wow, that's an awful lot of money. If you go to the, well, not quite to the next one, but let me explain that. I have contacted other communities which have built such things. The only one I really could talk to very well was Agawam, and they couldn't give me an exact number of what they spent on the project, but they did give me some good hints on things to look out for, and they said it was a very successful project and really helped the community out a bit. The next thing shows some original site improvements that I had suggested to the Activities Council, and we decided to look and see if we could talk with the Rec Committee, because it seemed like there was a chance for some synergy in our efforts. And it's an ideal place to put a band shell, because with the Activities Center there, you can do more than just have a concert. You can do different kinds of festivals because you have places in, you have rooms in place where you can do different things. Part of it I would hope everyone would envision would be to be somewhat like Tanglewood, having it be a picnic type area where people could bring their lunches. There could be a pavilion where refreshments could be sold as part of the way to help fund these things, and also to have a separate outbuilding for audio and visual control, which a lot of communities forget that they need to have. And that's kind of the setup. The reason why it's positioned there, if you'll go to the next slide, you'll notice that there is a significant slope to the area. And by putting it at that angle, it would minimize the amount of groundwork that would have to be done. You wouldn't have to smooth everything out. It could continue to be at that same kind of angle. I put down below two ideas of how a band shell as well as a pavilion might look in that particular space. The other thing I did find out is you have to be very careful with the sighting. I originally thought maybe down at the very bottom of that might be a great place to put it, but that's an east-west sighting, so if you're watching a band play, then the sun's going to be in your eyes in the evening. And that's why you want to put it off at an angle. If you could go to the next slide, please. These are examples I found on the internet for companies which have prefabricated both pavilions as well as band shells. These are 2018 prices, so I've adjusted it for inflation to 101 for the band shell that's shown on the left, and then the 16.7K adjusted for inflation for the pavilion on the right. This isn't because I necessarily endorse this particular company, it's because it's the only company that had numbers so that I could get an idea without having to commit to something more from the company. And this is just to get some raw numbers. I should alert everyone that that 101 does not include those little outbuildings you see as part of it. It essentially means the roof structure. And I've adjusted that to having the maximum amount of things done at the factory. Obviously, there's going to be a cost involved with doing the construction, and originally when I started looking at this project, I assumed that it would be somewhere in the 200 to 250,000. I can tell you I just had something, I just had an addition put onto my house, and I can tell you it's going to be substantially more because prices have gone crazy. And that $350K may just cover a portion of the band shell. If you go to the next one, I wanted to show just two custom-built examples, so you don't necessarily have to go with a prefab. These are two communities which built their own. They hired an architect to design it. One was in Siren, Wisconsin, and that was built in $70,000 at 2008, which is roughly $100,000 in today's dollars. And then one at Lake Placid, which cost $250,000 in 2014, which is about $300K in today's dollars. I should note that it was a little bit more than the band shell you see there. That's a two-level band shell, so there's storage underneath. That's a real foundation for storage. And then they also had to build up the sides so that it wouldn't fall into the lake. One of the things that I find really interesting is that the Mass Cultural Council has a facilities grant fund. This is a matching grant fund. They will give you up to $200,000 in additional money. Since we already have the $350, we have the matching grant, so we can apply to get essentially free money as long as we can come up with a good reason why we would need it. Now, these funds are for the acquisition, final stage design, and construction of cultural facilities, as well as the purchase of major equipment, such as sound, lighting, as well as rigging that might be required. The one caveat is municipalities need a 50,000 square foot size. Obviously, we're not going to make a 50,000 square foot band shell. However, I went to a online meeting with the facilities fund people, and they assured me that the entire grounds would count in that 50,000. So I believe we have over 50,000 is a little bit more than an acre, and I believe we have more than an acre of land there. So that would fit within the particular thing. The final thing is, and this is a key one, is you need a business plan in place. And I think this is something which we need anyway. If you're going to build a facility like this, you don't want it to just sit there vacant. You want to make sure that there's a plan of what's going to go and what kind of programs can be done in it. The next slide just shows that they have indeed funded band shells before. This is one that was done in Falmouth in 2009. I don't want people to get afraid of the $500,000 price tag that you see in there. This is substantially larger than a band shell you would build. If you take a look in that lower corner, you can see that they can fit a full symphony orchestra in that band shell. It's a huge band shell. And they gave $173,000 towards, the state gave $173,000 towards the formation of that. So what can be done in this band shell? To go to the next one, there are several things, several programs you could have. First of all, Friday and Saturday night concert series. This is something which you see almost every community which has a structure like this do, and this is something where we can get funding from various local businesses. I know that at least one of the banks has said they would be interested in help sponsor one of these types of programs. The Dudley Charlton school performances, obviously it's pretty well known that the Dudley Charlton School District has a pretty good band and music program in general. You could envision them having various band concerts. It could be jazz band concerts. It could even be a show choir concert could be given in this facility. The Battle of the Bands is something I bring up where I don't know if there are any local recording studios around who might be willing to sponsor this, but in the past, before COVID, the youth groups, there's a lot of youth groups in Charlton who had their bands, and they would often use the activity center stage. We would have 5 to 6 bands playing for about a 3-hour period at night. And we did this for quite a few years in a row. So this is a program that I could see being even better outside, because we do have constraints into how many people we can have in the performance space in the main barn area. Proposed formation of a town big band. This is something, that's my thing. But an interesting thing is there is a former selectman who will go unnamed, but I will say he was a graduate of the Berkeley School of Music, who, when I approached him a few years ago, said that he might be interested in taking this on once he retires. And I think he might be retired. We could have music festivals. An example I gave is ukulele with workshops at the Activity Center. The reason why I gave a ukulele as the example is because Charlton has a ukulele society that plays. And one could, and yes, I'm a member of it, but, so that's my plug. We meet in the library last Thursday of every month. That being said, you can imagine having a ukulele festival. There's tons of ukulele clubs throughout New England, and I see this as an opportunity to have that and maybe get some people who want to teach it. You could have courses being done as part of the festival.
Well, we probably need a police presence, because I hear it gets really rowdy.
Well, those ukuleles.
I'm just throwing it out there, too.
Yes. Summer theater is a possibility. The Pasture Prime Players, which I do have a sort of a relationship with, is the resident theater group at the Activity Center, and there's a possibility to do summer theater. Often you see this type of summer theater usually is something that people don't like to do in their regular theater, which is a lot of Shakespeare stuff, because the good thing is Shakespeare doesn't cost anything, because obviously it's in the public domain, and it's a little bit harder to try and charge tickets for an outside event. So this is one where the theater group could potentially do a free performance of some sort of play, and it would probably be a Shakespeare play. Dance exhibitions is a possibility. Lee Irish Step Dance has stated that they are very interested in the possibility of hosting an Irish Step Dancing Festival here. Obviously, it could be used for things such as the Blueberry Festival, as well as some old home day celebrations and any other events that may happen in town. And finally, there's summer Rudy nights. This is kind of a contentious thing because you have to be very careful. Everyone sees those little blurbs about how the FBI will go after you. No, the FBI won't, but Disney will. So the key is that you have to make sure you have licensing. The unfortunate thing is that licensing is much more expensive for outdoor productions, and that's something that we would have to take a look at. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, what we're looking at as the possibility, and I think there's a lot of opportunity, some great things to happen. The two things that I think we need to do first and going forward is, first, we probably have to come up with some sort of feasibility study to find out, if this is indeed something that could go in that particular site. Make sure everything's kosher with regard to that before we start looking into spending the real money. I'm not sure how much one of these things would cost. I'm sure that's something Andrew could help us with. And that would be the first thing. And the second thing is I would like to see some sort of committee formed by probably a member of the rec committee, a member of the activities board. Be nice to have a select person in on it, and some people from the community who might be interested in helping develop a business plan, decide what kind of programs want to go into this. And I now entertain any questions you might have.
Mr. Chair.
David, go right ahead.
Two more thoughts, I guess, but in one of the earlier pictures, and for those who know where the building's located, there's a convenient parking lot just to the left. Is that owned by Mass Youth Charlton Youth Soccer or the town? Do we know?
That's owned by the town.
That
That's
sounds
part of the Maynard.
So we own that lot, so that would be
Yes.
convenient to have that extra parking for any events
And-
right there.
Right, and in addition, the elementary school is right behind, which I believe the town of Charlton also owns, and you could envision them building a pathway to go from there. It isn't that much of a walk. In
There
fact, at
actually
the
is a
Blueberry
pathway
Festival,
there,
it's
and,
often
yeah,
used for
little bit of a hike.
secondary parking.
Okay.
So
I
there is
think-
lots of
yeah.
parking, and then with the activity center, you have a perfect place to put handicap parking.
Yeah, and that's good to know that we have access to all that additional parking right
Yes.
there. The other question was, since Senator Fatman was just here, and as much as I would love to see the state give us the money back, since it's ours, this is Massachusetts, let's be real. So it's not going to happen. That said, the state has a lot of excess revenue. Perhaps, working with Andrew could approach Senator Fatman to see about getting some revenue from the state, additional ARPA funds, like you mentioned, or additional excess revenues to help with this project. Perhaps you can also help, maybe push things or help with context for grant, getting a grant approved. But I'd love to see if we can get Senator Fatman involved to help with that.
Yeah. And one of the things is, if you look at the list of communities granted, a lot of times Boston gets the lion's share of the money, but there are more rural communities which do get money from that particular fund. And I think it all has to do with making sure you have an excellent grant proposal put in place. And I'm not the one to write that, so I'm hoping that we can
Yeah,
have some.
and I think even when, I remember being in the beginning and talking with Amazon, and Andrew can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty convinced I'm right, that when we were looking for avenues to fill in their community outreach money, the community outreach program, they were big on arts and activity councils. They were big on that, and they were big on STEM training for our schools.
Mm-hmm.
Those are two things that they carried on. I think for that location, I mean, I don't know how many people you would expect there on a weekend night. 500, 300, because I'm leading on to a point here because
More than town meeting?
more than town meeting. Well, maybe we have town meeting now. But as far as the facilities on site, that's a whole different infrastructure cost. I don't know if we can just put up 20 porta potties every time there was an event.
Well, one of the things I would see happening, and this is something that could help out rec, is that in the picture of the band shell, you notice that there are outbuildings which are directly connected to it. And I could easily envision having some sort of composting bathroom systems put into that. So that would give, if not to be able to have a really, really large festival, at least it would give something where if there's someone playing lacrosse down there and they have to use a bathroom, they don't have to go in the woods, you know. So I see that as a possibility of something that could happen there. With regard to the number of people who would come, my experience has been when, I don't know if you remember, but I don't know, about 15 years ago or something, there was some sort of concert series co-sponsored with Masonic Home, and they had a series of 5 concerts that were going to come there. I attended 4 out of the 5 with my family. The last one was canceled because there wasn't enough interest. What we found was, and this was held up at Bay Path, out on the field, and it was interesting because the first one was some 50s star who I never heard of, who apparently lived right over in Brookfield or something. And it was, we had the pleasure of having the last concert he ever did because he was in pretty bad physical shape when he performed at that, and he died a week later. So it was great that I got to see this 50s star that I wasn't aware of, but he had some interesting music. We found that if there was a band that had a following, they brought people in, but it was from outside of town. The last one was with a small historical string band kind of thing, which has performed at a lot of things in town before. And my family got there, and then this van pulled up, and they had a nice ceremony for the person being the oldest in Charlton, and they got their cane, and everyone left. And it was my family sitting in front of the band, and there was no way we were going to leave. So we sat for 2 hours watching a band that we might not have otherwise done. So I don't think we're going to see festival style, if there's something large that's happening, I think that's something where it would be funded through whatever particular thing was going on. So if it was a
Old Home Day.
yeah, so Old Home Day or something like that, or for that matter, the Blueberry Festival, which we have there, we always hire out porta potties, and a lot of times we get it donated, I believe. Is that true? Yeah. Yes. So we don't even pay for them. If you have something for the town, a lot of times companies will donate.
Andrew, did Amazon, for that $350,000 for that grant, was that only for the band shell, or could that include any other infrastructure?
It was outlined for band shell at Dresser Hill. So really any infrastructure needs to kind of support that project moving forward.
Steve, through you?
Yeah.
So Don, just very briefly, I just want to thank you and your colleagues for all the great work that you've done on this. My only two recommendations, for lack of a better term, would be one, any type of design, which I'm sure that the committee itself that you've mentioned that you'd like to form, that anything you come up with would probably fit our rural character. I don't think we need anything too avant-garde down there.
Yes.
Additionally, the other thing is, and just to be practical, more than likely, we're not going to be able to fund this with anything except the money from Amazon and any additional state grant money that you apply for that obviously Town Hall can help with. So when you think about your design and such, just take that into consideration, because I, for one, won't feel comfortable, even though it's a great idea, saying we're going to divert extra tax over to that based upon overruns or things along those lines. So
Oh, no,
it's probably
I
better to
100%
scale
agree.
down and have a smaller piece that is really tight and great than maybe something that's larger that might start to push that envelope. But outside of that, again, I think everyone's doing a great job, and really, thank you. That's great.
I guess the only other thing I would want to know is how we would proceed with getting some firm to do the initial assessment of the project. I don't know how much that would cost.
I'd probably recommend through the chair to talk to Andrew and start that process, because that 350 that we were given as part of the community agreement that will be part of it. So I would just again with the board's indulgence, I would just say work with Andrew and he will lead you in the right direction.
Okay, sounds good.
No, 2 cents. Go ahead.
I'm obviously just putting this out there just as an idea. My school obviously has programs such as like carpentry and different construction programs that I think these kids go out and build like pavilions, they build gazebos that are just like random for towns, not like certain concrete projects. I think definitely contacting my school would be a way to lessen the cost of like going out and getting these big construction companies and just talking to my school in case that they could work on this project with you guys.
Yeah, that is something that we have discussed.
Yeah.
And I don't know that the band shell portion of it could be done, because that's a very complicated project.
For sure.
But I think certainly things like the pavilion is something which certainly would be a possibility, and even the outbuilding for control of lights and audio. Those are things that I think. It's a pretty big project with regard to, you would need to have real detailed plans because of the acoustic requirements for building a band shell to make sure everything works out right.
Yeah, and from what I understand about Amazon, if they're going to put their name on it or their money into it, they're going to want a full engineering study done and have it done completely.
Would that money for that visibility study be coming from Amazon? I just want to put my 10 cents to it, because it's close to my heart. So I'm going to just say that I think it's crucial to cultural development of any town to have some kind of a place of gathering, for the community to come together and enjoy life, just that simple. And I think this is a great idea and a great opportunity for this town to have such a thing. I would volunteer gladly and happily to be, in between, the board and otherwise. I have one question, well, two questions actually. So that 200,000 grant that we talked about, the matching grant program,
Yes.
of 200. So just so I understand it completely. So say we have 350 coming from Amazon, then we have the chance and opportunity to match it to 200, right? All combined
Yes.
about 5,
Yes.
give and take.
The good part about that grant is we already have the match. And so it's, if you write a good grant, you have everything you need. So this $350,000 project is suddenly a $500,000 project.
Now, out of that money, say we will apply, go to the grant program and everything, can any of that money be used to embed the existing structure, the community center itself?
No. It's usually, these type of things are, they're giving money for a specific project, and you can't just, we're only gonna spend 100,000 and, you know.
Well, I'm saying that,
The
because you
rest
said
is
the 50,
something
there's supposed to be, there has to be 50,000 square feet of the area
Yeah.
to fulfill that requirement. So the community center is included in that 50,000 square feet?
It would be more the land area.
Oh, the land.
So the land area is considered part of the 50,000 square foot. When I talked to the state, they said yes, the land necessary for band shell would be included in that 50,000.
And any of that land has to be filled, you know, the one that why I say that is because Amazon is starting to clear up their sites. Maybe they have some, how do I know, I'm the woman, you know, any soil that they get rid of, can that be brought into that product?
So I think the first step would be to do the feasibility study to figure out what the topography needs were versus just dumping material on site and then hoping that it is
But maybe we
needed.
should talk to them now before they throw stuff out that we could potentially use, is what I'm saying.
Especially with Route 20 project, there's always spill.
Yeah, anything we can use, you know, to do that, because that is a little bit slopey, so that bend will be on that side that is more, right, that is sloping down a little bit?
Right, the intention would be for the slope to be a natural auditorium.
Right.
If you could think of it, so. Usually when
Oh,
you
I see
have
what
some
you
sort of
did there.
auditorium, you like to have tiered seating, and we already have the tier kind of made. There may be some grading work that would need to be done, and maybe some reinforcement in the wall to make sure that it doesn't fall into the current athletic fields. So there may be some stuff around there, but I think we could have a minimum amount of land that has to be moved around in order to keep it.
Yeah.
But that's something that someone who knows more about it, we have a civil engineer really do that.
I just wanted to add that the purpose of this meeting is to obviously explain what Charlton Rec Friends is actively doing with Donald as president, looking at the band show proposal idea, which is awesome. But Charlton Rec Friends is a 501c3 fundraising group. So with that, the fundraising part of it, Don would be the group would be very, very active in raising additional funds other than what Amazon is giving to make this a reality.
Yeah.
So, just so we're clear.
And certainly there have, I know in the past, when the Activities Council had a bank member acting as treasurer, they had approached the bank, and the bank was very interested in helping out with the project too, without even any monies, you know, being put down yet. So I think there's ample opportunity. A lot of companies, it's one of their requisites to find ways to give money back to the community.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Yeah, I think that there are multiple steps in this. Again, what I'd recommend, for now at least, is talk to Andrew around the business plan to figure out how best to do that, as well as then suggest a committee outlook through the chair, and then, you know, potentially bring that back to the Board of Selectmen through Steve. And
Right.
then, you know, we can help appoint, and also figure out really who should run point, because really it should be, quite, at least in my opinion, it should be a member of pure government, whether it's appointed or elected, with obviously Don, everything that you're doing as well. But, you know, I think we just structurally, we need to figure out legally how we want to do that. So that's what I'd probably recommend as next steps, and then, because we don't want to put the cart before the horse yet, so I just think there are certain prelim or prerequisite steps that we need to get there.
But I also think, no, I agree, Bill. But I also think we have time, because I don't think we could ever foresee the Amazon money coming from.
The only thing about the time is that these grants have certain times when they have to come out, and you have to have a certain time. And ideally, we'd like to have something in plan so we know what the project might cost, have a couple of variations, and work from there. So once we know, say, 2 or 3 possibilities of how the project could go and know how much money each project would cost, that's what we would need to put forth to the Mass Cultural Council to try and get additional monies.
I don't know if that can be done. Maybe that can be done simultaneously. So we could, the Amazon money, we wouldn't expect that until August of 2023.
2023. Well, I mean, if you take a look at, 2023 is when we would get grant money from the state if we did get a grant from the building fund. What happens is, the 2022 cycle is already over, and the 2023 cycle comes in early, I think it's in February of 2023, and then awards are made later. So sometime probably more in the time frame of your talking about when it might happen is probably when monies would become available. And we could go over and take those types of monies towards later parts of the projects. For example, say the audio or the lighting portion of it, which can go after construction.
I got it. David?
This is through you, Andrew, was there like a, expiration, best before, best if used by date sort of thing? So Amazon has said they're gonna give us this money.
Yep.
Right? Was there something in the agreement that says, okay, but we can't get that to assist with this process until they're up and running?
So I believe that there were certain portions of their contribution to the town that were tied to the filing of the building permit and some that were tied to the certificate of occupancy. I believe that this portion was tied to the certificate of occupancy.
I agree.
So that's when we could anticipate for the money to be coming in. What I would suggest for the first step would be to establish what the band shell building committee would be, and that in order to draft the RFP, to look at evaluating architects and to kind of figure out those portions first, and then once you go through that, then we'll be closer to the finish line of actually getting those funds in, and then be able to apply for the grant, just so that we know exactly what the total amount, estimated cost is going to be.
So through the chair, if needed, would you be able to assist the?
Of course. Yeah.
And one last thing, I would like to remind everyone out in the video world that Charlton Rec Friends would love to have you join us. We won't require you to be an officer. We've already filled out the requisite officers, and you can just come over and have a good time. We have information on Facebook page,
Charlton Rec Friends Facebook.
Charlton Rec Friends, and additional, you can send an email to me at charltonarts7@gmail.com if you have an interest in that. And other than that, I thank you for indulging.
And our next meeting is Wednesday, May 25th, 7 PM. So,
And I believe we're going to be doing a Zoom meeting
yeah,
for
we'll
that.
post it on the Charlton Rec Friends Facebook page. So if anybody's interested in seeing this idea blossom, and we could work through your department to try to get some other interested people to get this moving.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you,
Thank
thank you.
you.
This is very good. And I think, I don't think you're feeling any, I hope you're not leaving feeling any opposition from the board or anything on this. I think this is you've done your homework.
Yeah.
Amazon's, I like the idea of the matching grants.
Yes.
Let's see what happens.
Well, I don't think that the board would want to just throw away $350,000 either. So I think it's...
There's a joke in there somewhere, it's fine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Don, thanks, Dan.
Okay, so moving right along, we've got through Ryan, we've got through Rex, and we've got through the reorg. Reauthorization of the South Central Mass Veterans District Agreement.
So attached is a revised IMA for the reauthorization of the South Central Mass Veterans District Agreement. The current agreement expires June 30th, 2022, with the revised agreement would be from July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2024. The towns of the agreement are Auburn, Charlton, Oxford, and Southbridge. I'd recommend the board approve the agreement.
Motion for discussion?
So moved.
A second.
So, Mr. Chairman, the only thing I'd add is for the people at home, this is, as Andrew mentioned, this is an agreement that we have with Auburn, Oxford, and Southbridge. We basically share cost and share personnel for our veterans' services, inclusive of director, as well as clerk, and I believe there's a couple more support staff. This is a very cost-efficient approach to making sure that our veterans across the community get what they need. That's really all. I mean, I'm in full support of this.
I am as well. I do have a couple of questions, though. I looked over this quickly, and I have so many papers in front of me. It's typical for Charlton is that we're paying $13,000 per year, and Auburn and Oxford are paying $8,000 per year. Is that based on the amount of veterans that we have, or?
So they are also employing their own veterans agents in their communities, while we are actually sharing the agent with Southbridge. So the district, it's actually the district director does office hours between Southbridge and Charlton. Oxford, over and above these costs, Auburn and Oxford also have agents that they hire directly, but the district director oversees them, and they fill in for each other as needed.
Okay, that's awesome. That's just because I looked at that, and if people are looking at that at home, I'm sure they're right.
It's to meet the guidelines of under the Chapter 115 of the state as far as what the minimum staffing is for your population that you're serving. So that helps us meet that requirement.
I would accept the motion.
I think I made the motion. Basha, did you second it?
Yeah, I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now to the next new business, Mugget Hill Road Culvert Replacement Project.
So McClure Engineering has reviewed the bids received for the Muggett Hill Road Culvert Replacement Project and are recommending the board award the bid to Western Earthworks on the basis of the total bid price as submitted in words and numbers as $224,196.64. I'd concur with McClure Engineering's recommendation.
And Mr. Chairman, through you, I believe, Andrew, they were the lowest bid, correct?
That is correct.
Yep. So that being said, make a motion to accept McClure Engineering.
I second the motion.
Any discussion from the board? None? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You're correct, it's Western Earthworks. I know. Their recommendation. Make sure you get the minutes right.
Sorry, man.
Now we're moving on to old business, the town administrator review by Selectman Zarowski.
I'm sorry, Andrew, I wasn't here.
That's fine.
That's
You
wonderful.
had a good reason.
I was
That's all
put
right.
down by COVID, finally, got to me. I will save people time and everything else. I'm not just gonna read everything I have written, but I will read just a paragraph out of the summary that reflects on what my thoughts are precisely. So Andrew remains an extraordinarily talented individual who has created a culture of transparency in all aspects of our town government. He is responsive to requests be they from the boss, our board, departments, or the citizens. I believe his unique efforts will have long-lasting positive impact on our town. Creative thinking, followed by creative solutions, keeps an organization at the forefront of innovation and adaptability. Charlton is most fortunate to have such a gifted, loyal, enthusiastic, and hardworking person as our town administrator. Andrew continues to lead and administer an open, transparent, innovative, professional, responsive, respectful, and financially prudent town government. Andrew Gauze is an exemplary employee for the town of Charlton. His excellent performance and his dedication to his job are always in evidence. I'm honored and grateful to work with him, and I'm thankful for everything he has done for our town, its residents, and myself. Thank you so much. That says it all.
Thank you.
I appreciate every moment. I have never seen anybody work harder than you do, and
Except
you
for
do
Mary
things
Lynn.
before we even think.
Except for Mary and Kara.
You do things before we even ask you. I mean, that's extraordinary. So thank you so
Do you have to
much.
formally get a copy of that? Or-
I did, yeah.
You gotta-
Yeah, I just did the whole thing.
Very good. I don't think we need a vote on that. We're just acknowledging your, okay. So moving on to, very well done. We tend to agree. For old business, the boundary walk dates. This is always something I find interesting. And Bill, you've probably done it. David, maybe you have too.
So, Mr. Chairman, what this is for those at home is that we literally have markers in the ground that delineate our town boundaries from our neighbors. And once every X amount of years, you're supposed to go out and find them and just say, yes, it's still here, and this is, no one's encroaching on it, Southbridge isn't invading. So with the board's permission, what I'd like to do is work with Mary, who's actually been indispensable in this, to find some dates, work with the board and the public and whoever else might want to go, just notify the respective neighbors, and then literally we're going to go walking around the woods that we'll post in case anybody wants to come to try to find these boundaries. And as long as I don't see any snakes, I think it'll work out well.
And the boundaries are concrete pillars and or granite rocks, or it could be anything, right? With an X on it?
Exactly. And some of these probably have not been looked at in well over a decade. So it's going to be interesting trying to find it. We'll obviously, talk to Jerry and others, trying to, ask for their advice if they've seen it. So.
Oh, that sounds cool.
So
We almost ought to open it up. We almost ought to we ought to open it up to a few people that might be interested in the community. They probably know. We could be walking around out there for hours, and they probably know where they are.
Yeah, so it's like Mr. Zarowski, we don't have dates yet. I think basically, again, with the board's permission, I'd like to take point on this and just talk with Mary, because I know she's wanted to do it as well. And then I'll notify the boards of the board of what dates might work best for anyone else who may want to come.
We might get it televised. Drew.
Yeah, I see you walk around the woods.
Karen, the camera.
As I scream, as I see a snake, it's
Everybody will have to wear those GoPro camera things. Scare me out.
I'll bring the rubber snakes.
Yeah, we need the, what is that,
Adverse position.
night watch goggles, whatever.
Okay, Board of Selectmen committee reports. I don't know if we have any.
I don't believe we do, Mr. Chairman.
I don't think we do. We're moving right along. Board of Selectmen policy review, I think that's clean too. Board of Selectmen TA goals and objectives, that's clean.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, the only thing I'd probably add on this is that sometime perhaps in June or July, at one of our meetings, which I'll talk about later, perhaps we can start to formulate Andrew's goals for the next fiscal year as well.
Yeah. Yep. And moving on.
And just repeat last year?
Yeah, happy face.
Now the most exciting part of the evening is the student select person report. So who went first last time?
Oh, I did, 'cause, no.
I don't remember.
No, because I was going to pick on you, then you started yelling at me, so I asked Nina to go.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Izzy, you're going first.
Okay. So,
Please, Izzy, if you don't mind.
of course. Every time. All right, so I would like to congratulate all AP students who tested last week and this week. Pretty sure there's still one more test coming up, which is the computer science exam, so good luck with that. Scores will be available from College Board in July. And senior prom was a success. Whoever purchased photos can access them on the Cass and Foster website, and Pleasant Valley has thanked us for being such a fun and respectful group. It was really fun. I danced a lot. Junior prom is on June 11th at Indian Ranch. I hope you guys have as much fun as I did. And May 17th through 18th is Math MCAS for all underclassmen, so anyone who is not taking that will be in their related rooms all day. And then, just once again, the 15th annual Bay Path Education Foundation benefit golf tournament. I know that there's one for Dudley, Charlton, which was talked about earlier, but we also have one for Bay Path, and it's funds student scholarships and teacher grants, and that's on May 21st at 1 p.m., and you can find more information about that on our school's website. Bay Path is offering a new sandwich bar at lunch, similar to the salad bar, so students can pick and choose sandwich toppings at the new bar, so go get a sandwich. And then ticket sales for the senior class trip to the Woo Sox game have concluded, so that's sad if you didn't get a ticket, but there's not a chance anymore. So, anyways, May 13th is the award ceremony for the 49 students who excelled at the Skills USA district competition. I think there are 2 kids going to nationals this year, so good job, guys. And then senior night for softball is next Wednesday, and we take on Bartlett for our second to last game of the season. And then boys lacrosse senior night is this Friday. And that's about it.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you very much.
My turn?
Nina, you're on deck.
I'm on deck. All right. So we have a cornhole tournament coming up. So on Thursday, May 19th, the Shepherd Hill National Honor Society will be hosting our second annual Go for Gold cornhole Cornhole Tournament, okay, at 6:30. And students and teachers are to compete in 2 teams, and the winning team is going to receive a custom-made cornhole design from Mr. Ducharme and the whole woodshop student group. And all proceeds will be donated to a local organization. And to sign up, you can just go to room 201, which is Mr. Stefan's room, and the cost of participation is $10 per team. And you must have the money in by May 16th. So, AP testing is going on. I just had my AP Lit test on Wednesday, and if you're wondering how that went, if you can put together what an octopus, water, and a city is, please let me know. I could not find any relation to those 3 things. Anyways, there's AP testing going on, and all of your rooms, new assigned rooms are in the stairwell, so keep an eye on that. So arrival time for the morning is 7:35 for 8 a.m. exams, and then we have afternoon exams, which starts at 11:35 a.m., and you must be there at that time for the 12 p.m. exam. And you have to bring your own supplies, so bring two number 2 pencils, black or blue pens, and approved calculator. And then scores are also available in July. And we also just had our powder buff game, and so 7 teams competed in our first annual powder buff volleyball tournament, and the tournament was a homage of the girls' annual powder puff game, except it wasn't football, it was volleyball, so it was fun though, because I was like a little ref, so it was really entertaining. And so Student Council sponsored that, and we raised $500, and the money was donated to the UMass Chain Medical School for ovarian cancer research. And the winning team was Team Patel, and that was Austin Ayotte, Anthony Barbell, Ryan Brooks, Sean Maple, Nick Veronis, and Dan Vickus, and it was super successful and very fun, and I hope they do it next year, because I thoroughly enjoyed it. And so the artwork for Ukraine, we just had our district art show, and so the Shepherd Hill Art Department just raised $403 to help support people in Ukraine at the art show this year. So moving on with the whole art show, we just had our district annual art show, and it's our 8th annual one, and it was on Friday. And there was more than 3,000 artworks from 7 different schools, going from kindergarten to senior year to the senior class, and they were just displayed at the Shepherd Hill. They were displayed at the Shepherd Hill Gymnasium, so it was really fun. And then we're finally bringing back our Summer Sports Academy, and I participated in that last summer, and it was super fun, so I probably will this year again for volleyball. And so it was a post-pandemic return last year, and we're excited to welcome back young members from the communities into the academy, and thrilled to offer programming for terrific experiences once again. So you can sign up for that on the sportsacademy.dcrsd.org for more information and to register. And then Seniors Last Day is quickly approaching, and it's next Friday, May 20th. However, we start finals that Thursday, so May 19th. And I know we're exempt from a lot of finals if you have like a 90 or above. But if you're not, you still have to come into school like the next week, even though we're technically out of school. So make sure you show up, or it's, you're not going to get a grade for finals, and that's not good. Our senior banquet tickets sale closed today, as well as the senior class trip, so if you didn't get tickets, you aren't able to attend those 2 events for our senior class. And I just wanted to mention as well, I'm upset about, because today my French teacher told me that he will no longer be at the school next year because the French department got cut. And that's, I found that out actually, not by my French teacher, but by Miss Perangeli, which runs the foreign language trip. And tomorrow I'm making a presentation to the school board to advertise for the foreign language trip. I'm not allowed to call it the foreign language trip anymore because it's not involving French. So I don't think they're going to go to Paris anymore, which I just don't think that's very fair. I think language is very important, so I'm very disappointed that that department's getting cut, as it is very needed, and now we only have Spanish. So, yeah, that's all.
Is there school for seniors this Friday? Because I've heard rumors.
George didn't tell you. Yes, there is.
Thank you very much. I just heard some rumors. Thank you very much.
There is, but that day I actually do have COVID.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I know, I really do.
You look a little peaked.
I know.
Yeah.
My mom gave it to me, actually.
Poor David.
Yeah, sorry. She was in Europe.
Okay, moving right along. There was something, someone put a bug in my ear over when the last meeting, we're going to be graced with your 2 presents.
It is our next meeting, so May 24th is our last meeting.
That's going to be our last, okay.
Which we're going to have to talk about in a second, so.
What's that?
Which we need to talk about in a second, but you finish your stuff first. I'll bring it up under old business or under future meetings.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know, okay. I thought we just kind of brought it up, but, all right.
Should we announce our commitments then, or now?
Town administrator report.
Growth bang. Sorry.
So, the Winter Recovery Assistance Program that was awarded out by the state was signed by the governor. So Charlton's share of the RAP funding is an additional $422,683, which will go toward road improvements. So almost, coming close to matching our Chapter 90 apportionment, so it should go a long way toward roadway improvements this year.
Oh, that's fantastic, and that's, so we're doubling our Chapter 90 money.
Right, and it has to be spent almost immediately, so it should,
Do we have plans in place?
be working with Jerry on that, so we'll let you guys know exactly what the plan is for that, hopefully at the next meeting.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
Awesome.
Andrew, if you can include what the plan is for our existing Chapter 90 funds as well.
Yep, I'm working with him on that.
Yeah, I
plan
know
as well.
it's still a huge process,
Yep.
but thank you for that.
Yeah, we've just been off page the last few weeks, so just got to have that for the
I
next
get
meeting. And then just wanted to apologize for the mixed messaging on the code red that went out the last few days. There was a bit of a mix-up with the way that the code reds were put together, that the second message that was meant to run on the day of the town meeting changed the prior message that indicated that it was for next week. So if people heard multiple messages with the same information, slightly tweaked, I completely own that and apologize, so.
Andrew, I don't think there's an apology
No
necessary. I think it's a good test on,
Yep.
to let us know how many people are actually paying attention to those.
So town meeting is Monday on the 16th, and it's Bring Your Own Tar and Feathers Day. So that's my report.
Okay, and other business unknown at time of posting.
So, Mr. Chairman, just very briefly, as the board is aware, and some may be at home as well, we often go on our so-called summer schedule, starting in June, where we meet once a month. Was curious what the board's thoughts on that. And additionally, I know there may be some conflicts on May 24th as well. And Andrew, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I know you may not be able to attend. So we could run the meeting ourselves and keep it light administrative and have our opportunity to say goodbye to Izzy and Nina, or we could have them come back in later. Obviously, it's dependent upon the board's wishes, the chair's wishes, and how everybody else wants to do. But I would definitely at least advocate for June, July, August, one meeting, each, of course.
I'll make that motion.
So you want to make a light meeting for the 24th?
The town, Charles Board of Selectmen is forever and a day going on what they call the summer schedule, which is one meeting a month for June, July, August. I'm making the motion to do it again this summer.
I second that.
But we're still holding the meeting on a light meeting on the 24th? That's the only
Of
one?
May.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we're just sending the message to Andrew that we don't need you, but
Right. Maybe excused.
we really do, but
Goodbye, Andrew.
Uh,
We'll just put.
we'll survive.
I'll be happy to play the part of Andrew for that night.
I'll give you the razor.
If we do
Gotta
find,
shake your head, though.
I'm so close to it.
if we do find we need Andrew, we'll send out a robocall.
No, it's fine. I can easily make it if
You can
needed.
FaceTime you.
It's more
Andrew is his time off.
He does.
more for government functions, if anything. It's just my hometown town meeting is the same night. I'd like to attend, so.
We'll
if
just
we
keep
can
it
work around
administratively light, and we should be fine.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Need a vote.
So,
Mr. Chairman, I think there was a motion on the floor.
We need a vote. Motion.
we need a vote. And there's a second?
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye. Okay.
Next, meeting announcement. Annual town meeting. Pre-meeting for the Selectmen of May 16th, 6 PM, Charlton Middle School. Annual town meeting for the residents, May 16th, 7 PM, Charlton Middle School. Board of Selectmen regular meeting, May 24th, 2022, 6:30 PM, Town Hall Meeting Room 1.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session under MGL Chapter 38, Section 21A, Number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation, fire. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares, we may take a vote when we come out of executive session, but that will be the only business if we do.
Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. Chairman,
Roll call.
We have to roll call for executive session.
Steve Coronas, aye.
Oh, well, usually, all right, never mind. David Singer, aye.
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 So I believe we are in executive session.
We are in executive
So
session.
we may come back out, but it'll be quick if we do.